Hey everyone, this week's video is going to be a little bit different than the videos I've been putting out the past few months. I wanted to take this week to introduce you all to a show I've been working on, well, a podcast actually. And before you go any further and say, Gatlin, everyone and their dog is doing a podcast, don't worry, it's not going to be like any of these motivational ones, any of these listen to this celebrity ones. It's one that I feel like is needed and one that I haven't been able to come across. So I want to introduce you all to some really cool people, and hopefully you all will learn and grow from them as I have, and maybe we can all grow together and make this country just a little bit better. Without further ado, let's get into it. Real Americans, the people that make America work, is a podcast about the essential jobs in this country and the essential people that do those jobs. Whether it's a nurse in the health industry right now during this crisis, or a truck driver who's taking the supplies to the store, or even a UPS man who's delivering goods to customers because they can't go out and get them. You'll be able to find Real Americans on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. You'll be able to find it there here in the coming weeks. But until then, you'll be able to find every episode on YouTube at my channel, Gatlin Didier. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share any of the videos or podcasts that you have enjoyed from BarX Productions and myself. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to one of my favorite people on this earth, a spokesman for UPS, or soon to be, Jarrett Sitton. Enjoy. All right, welcome to the show, everyone. This is Real Americans, the people who make America work, with Gatlin Didier. And I'm here with a very special guest today, a UPS driver, United Parcel Services, and his name's Jarrett Sitton. Jarrett, welcome to the show. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, dude. Doing good.
Oh, yeah.
It's an honor to have you on here, dude. I'm pretty lucky.
Oh yeah, first show.
First show.
Thanks
man.
for having me.
Oh, hey, I think it's something pretty neat to have. Is I kind of will touch base, and I've already mentioned it to some of the listeners already, that this is a show kind of enlightening them on people who do the jobs that don't go noticed as much in the world. And I'm really excited to have you on here, and let's just jump into it. Okay?
All right, man. Sounds good to me.
All right, so you work at UPS. Can you tell everyone what you do at UPS?
I'm actually a package car driver at UPS. I drive the package cars. A lot of people call them trucks. We call them package cars. I deliver boxes every day, and it's a pretty dang good job. I like it. Been there for 5 years now, a little over.
Yeah, and so did you start always driving, or what happened there?
I started back when I was in college. I was a loader. I loaded the trucks. Boxes come down the belt and you throw them on. And I did that for about 3 years, and I would drive part-time in between there. And then when an opening came, I took it, and I became full-time a little over 2 years ago.
Wow, man. So you started from the bottom.
Yeah.
Worked your way up to being a driver in less than 5 years.
Yeah. Some people, I know a few of the guys there, it took them 8 to 10 years. So it's kind of like an internship to get your way into the company pretty much.
Uh-huh.
But it's well worth it. It sucks in the beginning, but early hours and stuff, getting up and going and loading the trucks at 4 o'clock in the morning, and getting up in the cold and rain and the snow and driving over there and getting all them packages on the trucks and making sure those guys were ready to get out by the time it was for them to leave.
So if you could enlighten everyone on the exact service of how their mail gets to their front door, take them from the time it hits the start of the process to the end of the process.
I'll just kind of go through the chain.
Yeah.
All right, so say I'm just a regular driver, and I go and I pick up a package at a business, and then I bring it back to the center at the end of the day, and there's people at the center, and they unload your truck, and they unload everything, and they put it on a semi, and they send that semi off, and they send it to the city, and so then it goes from there to wherever it's going. And then the opposite direction is we get semis from the city, and in the morning they unload them. Normally our center's pretty small, so we only get 3 or 4 trailers every day, 3 or 4 semi trailers, and they come in and we have somebody who unloads all the packages off the truck, and sometimes they switch, because that's probably the most exhausting job at UPS is unloading trucks, because you think every package that goes out of that building, that person touches. They have to move every one of them, and then they have to put the rollers in the trailer. The farther back that they get, they have to put the rollers in there to get to the back, and then you have shit just falls down on you. You grab a box, and just the rest of them come tumbling down. I've had that happen to me back when I was loading. I had to do all the positions. Then they go from the rollers, and they go on the conveyor belt, and we have somebody who scans them, and they have to, when you're unloading, you have to make sure that you put where they can see the labels, because we have to scan the barcodes and stuff, and then we have a little printer. It prints out like little tiny deals, and they say like the truck name and the shelf to put stuff on, and they put that on there, and then it goes down the belt, and people sort it to where it needs, like what side of the belt it needs to go on, and then people look at the labels that the person up front put on it, and they decide on which truck that needs to go on by what the label it is, and then what shelf number it needs to go on.
And now, how do they decide? Now, how does that
like
work?
like a lot of, like some of our truck, one of them's name's Fran. We have one named 14. We have one named Core, DSNI, and each one, like, that's the truck name, so that's the label for that box. So say it's going to that town, and it has that truck name on it.
So it's already in the system.
Yeah, our system knows that. We have people in the morning that set all that stuff up in the morning. Our dispatch, they go through all that, and they have a plan for each day on who's going to what towns, and it changes depending on like the season. We run 10 extra trucks in our little center during Christmas time, but then they put them on the truck on where there's we call it a POW label. It's not maybe an inch big, but that's what says the truck number. It has the date and time it was scanned, and that's whenever if you ordered something from Amazon and it tells you that it's out for delivery, that means it's got off the trailer and somebody scanned it, and it's supposed to be on the truck.
En route.
Now, sometimes they put them on the wrong truck, so that does happen. Like, I'll pull up to a stop and dig, and the package isn't on my truck. It's in a different town on another truck because the loader put it on there, and I did my fair share of that when I was loading, so I don't really dog the loaders too much for it. But
you've been there, you've done that.
Yeah, I've done it.
Well, go back real quick to mention to everyone, you are a UPS driver in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And in western Oklahoma, which is
Oklahoma.
a very rural area, right?
And our center is in Clinton, and they're the closest center. There's one in Woodward and one in Oklahoma City.
So Woodward's northwestern Oklahoma. You are more of the southwestern.
We're just kind of straight on I-40.
Gotcha.
Right on I-40.
Right
in
on
between,
I-40.
we go all the way to the Texas state line and almost like halfway to Oklahoma City.
Gotcha.
And we cut off. We meet the Oklahoma City people, and hell, I meet people, the Texas drivers sometimes out there on the highway. We get so
funny.
close.
That's funny.
Yeah, I see the Welcome to Texas sign all the time out there.
So this is kind of let people know too. The way it works out here is for very rural America, which is a very middle of America. This is how it's all set up.
Yeah.
Now, in the cities and stuff, the system's the same, but there's a lot more, right? A lot more distribution centers. Yeah, right. More.
Like people, have you ever heard that UPS drivers only turn right?
Yeah.
It's to save like sitting at stoplights and stuff.
Yeah.
Now that really doesn't apply to us.
Gotcha.
Because we're so spread out that you just got to take whatever. There's not much traffic to be always turning right. We don't worry about red lights too much.
Well, you don't see too many stop signs.
There's not a whole lot of stoplights out there. I mean, most of the towns don't even have one stoplight.
Yeah. So what on average too, because I know we'll got to get back to the system, but on average, what's the size of town that you normally deliver to?
I prefer to deliver like the routes where you go far out and deliver to like 2 or 3 little towns that are 15, 20 miles away from each other.
What's little to you?
Maybe like 500 to 1,000 people, something like that.
Gotcha.
Pretty small towns. There's not a whole lot of people there. And like a town like that, you might have 15 to 20 stops in that whole town.
Yeah.
Not counting out in the country, but in the town, you'll have 15 or 20
and
stops.
You have to drive what, like 300
Yeah,
miles?
some of the routes, I'd say they are extended routes, the ones that aren't in our main 3 towns or so. They go anywhere between 250 to 300 miles every day. And some days it's more.
Wow.
I mean, depends. Sometimes you have to go, you'll get an early AM, which has to be delivered by, so in an extended area, it has to be delivered by 2 o'clock. And so if your route is just a big circle and you go the same town, this town, this town, this town, well, if you get one that has to be delivered at 2 o'clock in your last town, then that kind of adds miles because you'll have to go over there and then come back. Instead of making just your complete circle, you'll have to shoot to the other side of the circle and come back. But pretty much all our routes are just a big circle, all the extended routes that go.
Gotcha.
And our center out in Clinton, we go, I know I've heard that we cover more ground than any of the other centers in Oklahoma.
Wow, that's
like our whole area that we have.
Yeah,
it's a lot big. Like Oklahoma City might deliver more packages and stuff, but ours we cover more area because we go way far north, we go way far south, and east and west. We've got a pretty good chunk of the whole state out of our little building.
So earlier you were saying too the city, and that's referenced to Oklahoma City. So that's when the mail will fly in. Yeah. So the mail from all over the country for all the Amazon places as well, it flies in Oklahoma City, and then it gets distributed out on trucks to your distribution centers. Yes. So it's like your centers are like mini versions of the big one and the hub.
We call it Oklahoma City the hub, the bigger centers, and then our center is just a center. It's just a small center.
Gotcha.
I mean, we run 15 trucks on average, sometimes 6, a lot of times 16, but the most we run is during Christmas. It's like 25. And during Christmas time, we have to get U-Hauls and stuff, so we don't even have enough trucks to run 25 trucks out there.
Well, how many trucks does Oklahoma City, the hub, run?
Oh, I bet they send out 200 or 300 every day, probably.
Wow, see, that's
because some of those guys might have just like a mile or two square area that they deliver to. A bunch of businesses and stuff downtown, they don't go very far.
Yeah.
But as compared to ours, where we drive 300 miles in a day,
Exactly.
They probably don't have anybody that drives that far in any of their centers up there.
Okay, I want to go back to the system. So once these packages get loaded on the truck, they send you all out. And you touched on the kind of your route, but what is as a UPS driver, what is your job at that point?
Well, you get your every morning you go through your truck. I try to get there early because you don't know what you're going to have exactly every day. Some days stuff gets moved around, so you kind of figure out what you like a game plan for the day, and you look at the maps and go through your boxes. And a lot of times you try to find stuff like people that live out in the country that you can take it to their work. So that saves miles a lot of times and saves you time so you can get home earlier.
Game planning.
Yeah,
right?
You got to really get ahead of the game. But if you show up late and stuff and you don't have time to go through anything and you just have to get on your truck and leave, then you're kind of screwed for the day and you don't know what you have. And you're just kind of winging it as you go. And then we have our scanners that we call dyads. And you have to go in and punch in, and they've changed our punch in they change something about every other week, it seems like. But that's with a big company, they got a lot of red tape and stuff. So you have to go punch in, and then you go get on your truck, and we have like a little safety meeting before we leave most mornings. We call it a PCM. I think it's personal communication meeting or something, and we have like our little safety demonstrations and stuff. And then they're like, okay, we release Ed, which is our like manifesto, like for our manifest for the day, like our whole list of stops that we're going to have. And it's normally in a pretty good order, but sometimes you can run it in your own order you want. It's not like you have to deliver it in the specific order it wants you to. Yeah. And then you'll go get on your truck, and we have to do like a little walk around, check your tires, and we call that a pre-trip. And we just go around our truck and make sure everything's safe for the day. Our lights work, the tire's not flat, you don't have a nail in there or anything. Just go around and kick your tires. Make sure your door's shut. I've had a few people. I know just the other day, one of the girls, she was driving down the road and her door came open and she lost like 5 or 6 boxes, just fell out.
Oh, wow.
As she's driving down the road. Luckily, it was before, she didn't make it very far from the center. She hadn't got back to the highway yet. But it can be a mess if that happens to you.
That's crazy though, like to think that just a little thing like
your
that
door,
it could fall off, and that's honestly your job has a lot of danger to it too. Now let's kind of like enlighten people on that. What's some of the dangers of being a UPS driver?
Well, the number one danger is just driving. I mean, that's what a lot of the things, like I had to go to UPS driving school, which was essentially like a boot camp that I had to go to. I went down to Dallas for a week, and they literally put you through a boot camp. They lined us up every morning and checked our face to make sure we were clean shaven. We had to have our shoes polished nice and shiny every day. And then they had to make sure our socks and our shirts were tucked in right. And like we had to be, it's like a lot like the military kind of.
Yeah, no, it's very organized.
Yeah,
right?
It's very organized. That's one difference between UPS and FedEx. Is UPS is like we're a union, and so we have a lot of rules we have to abide by. Gotcha. And but like FedEx, you'll see them guys, and they've got tattoos and beards and stuff. And UPS, they've started letting people have beards. You have to get either like a doctor's note or some kind of like be with your religion where you want to grow a beard.
Yeah.
But other than that, you've got to be clean shaven unless you have a mustache. A lot of drivers have a mustache. I even see them when I go out and I see other UPS drivers. I had my own for a while.
I'm gonna throw a picture up there so people can see it.
I had a pretty good curly mustache going on for a little bit, but I decided to shave it after a while.
So the uniform that everyone knows, we see a guy in brown shorts, brown
shorts,
socks, black shoes, black or brown shirt, and then what is there any other kind of uniform rules or any guidelines you all?
Well, a lot
follow?
of the things like they only want you to wear like either a black or brown or brown or white undershirt and stuff like that, but it kind of depends on your boss too. Some of them are more strict and some of them aren't.
A bit more lenient.
Yeah, but it depends. Most of the time, and like when it's really cold outside and stuff, if you've got long johns on underneath there, nobody's going to say anything to you when it's 20 degrees outside and snowing. They're not going to say, hey, you don't have the right color on, because you're probably going to have a UPS jacket, which they provide all that stuff. They give you. I've had all kinds of uniforms.
I remember seeing a lot.
I've got just a whole half of my dressers just full of UPS uniforms, and just I've got lots of pants and shirts, and I've got like a whole 5 or 6 different jackets, like rain jackets and like a bomber jacket, like the old school ones.
Yeah.
And that was probably my favorite, but it's just so hot, so you can only wear it when it's really cold outside. But then you've got all kinds of stuff. The only thing UPS doesn't provide is socks.
So you have to buy your own.
They give you the rest of the uniform socks.
I think they give you the ones with the little belts. UPS on there, right?
They give us belts. But
no socks.
And the thing is if you're going to wear shorts, you're supposed to wear socks.
Yeah. And so they have to be high up too, right? They can't be low.
Well, it depends. I mean, if you have like shoes that it doesn't show them, as long as you've got them on, which it doesn't matter. But if you wear, like when I went to driving school, to boot camp, essentially, I was one of the only ones in shorts, because most of the other guys, my boss was nice and gave me a few pairs of shorts to take with me.
Nice.
Most of the other guys did not have on shorts, and it was like 110 degrees in Dallas in July, and they were miserable.
That sounds like a country song.
Yeah, it does sound like a country song. But they were miserable, and I'm over here in my shorts, and I had my UPS socks on, so I got away with the shorts, but it wasn't too bad for me. So I couldn't complain. But a lot of the other guys, they were sweating their asses off out there. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, that's it. That makes me think too. The vehicles you're in, the big trucks. Mm-hmm. Now they don't have any AC, right? They don't have any heating.
No, we do have heaters.
You do have heaters?
Yeah.
Okay.
During the winter, we do have heaters. Now some of them are iffy. Some of our trucks, like I know we have one truck I was driving the other day, and on the dash, I'm sure there's like a new motor in it, but the dash says like 800,000 miles and something on it. I'm like, there's no way. No wonder the heater doesn't work in this thing. There's 800,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
But most of them, the heaters work all right. Mm-hmm. And the only thing is those sliding doors and stuff, it doesn't close well, so a lot of the air gets out. So you think, as a UPS driver, you see them, we'll pull up, we get in the back, grab the package, we open the sliding door, we run up and deliver it, we come back. Well, that whole time that door's open. Mm-hmm. So if you had hot air in there, it's just gone anyways. So it's cold when you get back in. And then it gets too hot and you have to turn it down. Yeah. But during the summertime, there's nothing. There's no AC. You just crack the door. You leave the door open, crack the window open, and then it sucks when you're driving on dirt roads and it just fills up in there. Yeah. So it's just kind of miserable.
It's a dirty job too. A lot of people don't realize how dirty it gets.
I come home, like those boxes are just filthy, just covered in dirt, because they ride around in the back of that truck all day. And out here in Oklahoma, there's a lot of dirt.
Especially in the rural areas.
Yeah, a lot of dirt out here. You can drive down, pretty much half the roads are dirt. So we get a lot of dirt on boxes. And I have had people complain about it, and I told them, I said, you realize where you live. Yeah, right. And they say, the road driving to your house is covered in dirt. You think that package was going to get here clean? I've been down plenty of dirt roads today. It wasn't clean then.
Well, okay, so now we're talking about packages and everything too, this makes me want to ask you, because your route's very similar to what a lot of routes are in this part of America. But even you think about what the winters it being cold up there in the Michigan, the Wisconsin areas, they deal with a lot of the cold stuff, the same, even worse than you do. Yeah. But then their summers are a little bit worse than theirs. But you all have to do the same thing. You have to get your routes done. All right, kind of enlighten everyone on how many packages you deliver a day, and about what's your average time from the time you leave the center to the time you get back? What on average is a day for you at the office?
Okay, well, normally I get to work around 8:30 or 9, and we get to leave about 9:30. 'Cause I like to get there early so I can go through my truck, like I said earlier, because if you don't, then you're kind of screwed. But so normally, say we leave about 9:30, whenever we can get out. We have to wait for next day air a lot, so that kind of determines on when we get to leave. And our next day air is just it's this old lady that drives from Oklahoma City every morning. And
Don't say her name.
I'm not gonna say it. I won't say it. I'll just say we call her Wrong Way because she ended up in Texas one time instead of.
Gosh.
Yeah, she didn't go back to the city. She ended up in Amarillo instead of going back to Oklahoma City, which is the wrong way. But anyways, so we just kind of have to wait for her to show up, and then they unload her truck and they scan them and they load them on our trucks for us. And then when they're done with that, and that's the stuff that has to be delivered like at a certain time, like the early AMs I was talking about, or next day air stuff has to be delivered by noon or whatever, certain committed times. And so we'll leave the building then around 9:30 or so. And most days I deliver anywhere between, I don't normally think of it. People ask, how many packages did you deliver a day? Like, I think that's what you said in your question.
Yeah, I said packages, but normally you think about stops.
I think about stops. That's how I look at it. Like, because each stop is each place I deliver to. And some of the routes where I drive a lot, it'll be anywhere between 60 to 80, sometimes 100. If that's a bad day. If you have 100 stops and 300 miles, that's quite a bit. But most days it's 75 to 80 and then 300 miles. So that's not bad. And a truck like that will only have maybe 100 packages on it, 120.
Yeah, you're stretched out over a long area. Small towns,
not
many big stops.
I sometimes deliver a package and drive 10 or 15 minutes before I deliver another package.
Gotcha.
And that's 70 times that day. And I mean, there's the little clusters, like I said, the town's 20 stops or so. But most days, those are the routes I try to stay on, honestly, because you're just getting in and out of the truck less and I can just drive around more. That's what I like. And then there's the other routes that are like our intent. We have the three major towns we deliver to are Clinton, Weatherford, and Elk City. And each one of them has a couple trucks that deliver to them. And those routes will have like 150 stops on them and anywhere between 200 to 300 boxes. Because they've got to deliver to Walmart,
bigger,
all
bigger businesses.
Bigger stores. Yeah, they have a lot of businesses. When the other routes are you just going from little towns and hitting the people that live in between them out in the country. Those are the routes I like to stay on.
And what about like big city drivers? You talk to other ones, so you kind of understand what they go through. Let's say in Oklahoma City, which is not necessarily a huge metropolis city, but it's still got a lot more stops than you would have. So what would you say is like an average stop for them day? Like how many?
Some of them guys go out with 200 stops, I'm sure, every day. And then a lot of that could be like okay, say you pull up to an apartment complex. A lot of people live in these big apartment, 20, 30 buildings in there. It's building 1, 2, 3.
So you're running up and down all day.
Each one of those buildings might have 1 or 2 packages going to each one. I'd say I was delivering in Lawton the other day, and I think there was 25 buildings in this place, and each one, it took me an hour to deliver. The thing is in your scanner and your diad, that's one address, and then there's 20 different like apartment numbers in there, and so each one of those you have to climb up the stairs, knock on the door, see if they're there, leave them a note if they're not, and if they're there, have them sign and everything, and then go back down the stairs, then pull up to the next building, find their package, go up the stairs. So it take a while to do, and that's just one address, so that's just one stop technically.
And so that can happen to the city drivers.
Yeah, that's what in the bigger cities they have to deal. Like we don't have to deal with so much of that out there, but in the bigger cities they have to. Like down in Lawton, I had to do that the other day, and it was not fun. No, it took a while to do just one stop essentially. Okay,
so this is what I kind of wanted to get in and talk about too, because so you say probably honestly like 100, 150 packages on average, just like a rough guesstimate.
Yeah, extended route.
Yeah. Okay, so you know how many packages are delivered in the U.S. a year every day in the United States?
I have no idea.
15.8 million packages are delivered by UPS alone.
Just UPS?
Alone every day in the United States.
I can believe it.
Imagine how much business is going through all that. Imagine how much the whole system of America going through just you all as a business.
Yeah.
And then you include FedEx, Amazon, USPS, and all this. That's a lot of currency.
People got to get their shit.
People need to get their shit. Yeah. People don't think the mail system is important. Still, it is.
It really is.
With Amazon getting in the game, it's really helped, I think, out in a way. It's also changed some things for you, as to do any industries. But that's what I kind of want to light people on is like, without you guys, without the UPS drivers, without the FedEx drivers, even though no plug for them right now, but without UPS drivers, I mean, this thing ain't working.
Yeah.
We rely heavily on you guys because right now we're in a crisis in America with the market being as it is, mainly due to this whole coronavirus thing. Your job, you're still going out every day.
We are considered essential.
You're an essential business.
Delivery.
You're going out every day.
Yeah, well, a lot of times, like I'll give you an example. I know there's a guy that lives just a few miles up here over in Oakwood, and I think twice a month he gets his medicine delivered. And he lives out in a trailer out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. And if it wasn't for us, that guy would not get his medicine twice a month. That he said, I've talked to him. He said, I need this medicine. Like I think he was, I don't know what he had, but he told me one day. Yeah, he told me one day. It's been a while back, but he said he's like real thankful when we show up because his road's kind of bad, you know. So if it rains, those dirt roads I was talking about, we can't get to his house. Yeah. You know, so he might wait a day or two before he can get his stuff because we can't get to him.
Well, that's what I think, to me, is an underrated thing about UPS drivers, along with a lot of other jobs that people don't think about how important they are. To me, that job's just as important as someone who goes and works at a big corporate banking place in Los Angeles, or somebody who does, stock market trades in New York. Like, that job is just as essential.
There wouldn't be those stocks for UPS if it wasn't for the UPS drivers.
That's right. And so that's why, like, one of the reasons we have this show is to help educate people on jobs like yours, and to also show the importance of jobs like yours and people like you, because without people like you, America isn't working. And so I just want to thank you for you being the guy who says, you know what, I'm a UPS driver, and from everything I see, you love doing it.
Yeah, I love it. I really do.
You should probably be the spokesman for UPS.
Yeah, so. That's what they tell us though, is because there's a bunch of people that work at UPS that nobody sees. You know, the people that load the trucks, the managers, the people that clean the bathrooms and take out the trash and all that stuff. But like they always tell us, the drivers, that's one thing that they're focused on our uniform and stuff, is we are the face of the company. Yeah. We're the person that the customer sees. They don't see the people working in the warehouse and stuff. There's a lot going on at UPS, and we're just the end of the line. But then we're also the beginning, like I said earlier. We're the ones who pick up the boxes when we also deliver the boxes. So it's just a continuing cycle.
The beginning and the end.
The beginning and the end.
Starts with you guys.
Oh yeah.
See, that's like I was saying. That's why I think what you do is so awesome, and I'm proud to say I know that you, as someone who does what you do, proud to call you a friend, proud to call you my cousin. That's like I had to throw that in there too. We won't delve into that today. Maybe at another time we have you come back. But I always like to end the show. Since this is the first one, this is what I'm going to do throughout. I like to end the show with 3 things. And number 1, I never like to touch on negative things, and you didn't hardly get into it. But if there was one thing you could change about your job, in a shortened sentence, what would you change about your job?
If there was one thing I could change about my job, that's a tough question. Because there's a lot of things I would change, but nothing like drastic.
One simple thing, maybe.
I'd like an air conditioner.
There you go. All right. Be nice. All right. So that's going to be the first little. We're sending this to corporate UPS.
Hey, and one thing we haven't touched on today is dogs.
I know. Yeah, you got to plug that real quick because we got to wrap up here soon. So tell everybody about what you do.
A lot that I do is I take pictures of dogs every single day. That's one of my favorite parts of my jobs. I get to meet a lot of people, and I get to meet a lot of dogs. So I take on my Snapchat, which is lowercase J Sitton 007. Follow me on Snapchat.
I'll put that in like a little.
Put it on there. Put it on there.
Put it on there so everyone can follow you on all your socials.
You will not be disappointed. Yeah. Almost every day I've got 10 to 20 pictures of dogs standing. I keep milk bones on me at all times. And I always take pictures of the dogs standing on my steps. There's some good ones out there.
Would you say that's the best part of your job?
That may be my favorant part of my job.
Because that was my next question. What's your favorite part of your job?
Okay, well, there you go. I answered your next question for you.
All right. Okay, then the last thing I want to ask is, do you, now being today talking, do you understand too how important you are to the system that is America?
I kind of have for a while. Like, one day I delivered to this guy, and he almost started tearing up. I delivered to him. It didn't get to him the day before because the road was bad, and then I got it to him the next day, which was like a Friday, and he came outside. He heard me pull up, and he came out there, and he's just kind of tearing up. He said, "Do you know what this is?" And I said, "What is it?" And he said, "It's an urn for my mother. We're having her funeral and stuff. Like, yeah."
That just hit you, huh?
I know. I was like, well, I mean, it means something. And like a lot of time, we deliver medicine, like I said earlier, like insulin and stuff. We deliver a lot of that stuff, and we deliver to hospitals and stuff. So I've kind of, you kind of realize it, you know. I mean, we deliver a lot of stupid stuff, like Amazon packages that people order and clothes and stuff. But we also do have plenty that really means something to people.
Well, all right, we got 10 seconds. Is there anything else you would like to say?
Be nice to your UPS man, and if you got a mean dog, put it up, please.
Love it. Jarrett, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks
for being my first guest.
I shake your hands with their coronavirus going around.
Yeah,
we got our
be
social distancing going on.
Right here, social distancing here. But I just want to thank you again for everything you do. It's been a pleasure having you on. And again, people like you are what make America work. So thank you, man.
Thanks, sir.
All right. Talk to you all soon. Again, follow Jarrett at all his socials on the bottom of the screen.